Hi, welcome to Dale McCluskey's Dog Training. This series of videos I'm going to get really in depth here, more into the psychology, help you understand how all the dots connect together, because I do really truly understand how difficult this can be for people to really get, because we are focused on appearances. We use our eyes to judge, and beyond that, it's very difficult for anyone to step back and analyze their own psychology, analyze how we think and the position we have put ourselves in within the dog and human relationship, because that's what really matters here. It's, you know, when I'm helping dog owners, or even initially when they go in and look at my methods, you're going in, or that person's going in with an idea in their head, they've already got themselves into a pattern of thinking about dogs, and this may have even gone on for many years. And so when they're viewing, you know, what method to choose, or what path to take with getting some help, understand that they've already got some ideas going on, and they're already, and this is really difficult for people to understand, they're already judging and putting these preconditions on what information they're going to accept or not accept. And so even when people go in and look at my methodology, look at my videos, I mean, people just lose their minds, because they're not connecting dots beyond just what they see. I mean, they see me use the leash, or they see me jerking the leash a little bit, but they're not understanding that it's all about influence. It's all about changing how you think. It's all about getting in competition to take that lead role from the dog. And so people aren't really going anything below the surface. They aren't going beyond appearances. They're just, looking and reacting to that based on how they're already thinking. So, when you're, the whole thing here is, when you're looking to change the dynamics of a relationship, it's no different than changing the dynamics of being a parent with a child that's out of control. I mean, this is the whole thing about this. I talk about permissive parenting, and this isn't about my point here is to help people. It's not to, it's not to be critical, to hurt people's feelings. Although there really is a, nature's a brick wall. So there has to be a moment of, reconciling this. There has to be a moment when you're sitting back and you're really understanding the role that you're in. I mean, that's really critical here. So, these series of videos, I'm going to help you with this to reconcile this, because there is a journey here of where you have to truly change how you think and how you're connecting with your dog, and what that means, and to see to see beyond appearances, because there is an element here where from the surface everything is going to look fine from the surface, because when it comes to dogs and these interconnected roles, oftentimes what happens is you could be your perceptions of what you see are going to be off. I mean, you're not going to be looking where you should be looking at the behavior issues for what they really represent. And the difficulty in that is, people that are, in this follower role in pack, they're going to be at a really big disadvantage, because their thinking is completely opposite to where it needs to be. So what I'm here to do is help you build that bridge, is help to bring that bridge together. So, and this is the other thing to understand, there's a struggle here that goes on, and I really feel for dog owners, because there's a struggle that goes on, and I understand there's a real sense of perhaps you're going to lose here the ability to connect with your dog, to bond with your dog, but understand that that's coming from a place that's emotion, and you're just, it's all tied up in emotions and feelings at a high level. And it's like, and I understand that there is a real, it can be a real struggle, and so I want to be sensitive to that, because it's like, I rescued a dog from the pound in Tennessee, a pug, She was highly dominant. So don't be fooled. I mean, it's not the size of the dog. It's really about nature and how we're connecting and so the size of the dog doesn't matter. And so we get into this whole thing, which I'm going to get into, about genetics and the part they play in this. But you know, all that matters is really, it always is going to circle back. It's going to come back to how you're thinking. It really is. It's all about how you're thinking. And it's going to it's how you're framing up your psychology. So it's like those nails you're putting in, you're tacking into your psychology. The more you're thinking a certain way, it's just going to, dogs just know strength and weakness. And so I'm going to help you kind of reconcile this, because I understand it is difficult. It's like, because you know, if you know, it's about personality. So you know, if you're thinking a certain way in one area, it's going to spill over into everything else. It's really important. So the whole routine here, and even through my methodology, as you're applying method, understand it's meant to change the tachometer, push that needle over, so that you're starting to get in competition for the role, and so that you're going to be successful. And so when you're pushing or when you're moving the leash, understand, try to see more than just that. That's the physical. It's connected to your mind. It's connected to how you're thinking. It's meant to push that energy out of your mind. So and so you will struggle with that some, because it's going to kind of really challenge you, and it's going to really go against, you know, those feelings and emotions that you've built up that relationship that way. But, and I understand, truly do, how difficult this is. It's like our dog, you know, my wife, she said, Dale, take me out to, you know, and put me through a session like you would one of your clients. Because my wife is, you know, she is more of that emotional type of thinker. And, you know, and understand this is what makes relationships great too, is like, we're not all the same. I mean, we're all different. And so she balances me out, even with how we parent. But when I went out and I put her through one of my sessions, her comment at the end, she goes, Dale, do people realize just how difficult this is? I mean, she goes, she wants, you know, she's really making sure I'm sensitive to that. And I am. I want to be. I'm trying hard with it, because I do struggle with that even myself, because I understand I'm the way I think too. So, you know, when I'm helping people, you know, understand it's like seeing a parade. It's like the perspective issue here. You know, with my experience, with the amount of dogs I've trained, with seeing the end result of, you know, where this ends up, good or bad. It's like my perspective is like standing on a, you know, you're kind of standing out in the street watching the parade go by. I'm up on the roof and seeing where it's coming and where it's heading. So I'm able to look ahead. So when you're talking, and even when dog owners talk to me, I'm breaking apart the language. I'm breaking apart, you know, how they're thinking. I'm looking at the behavior issues. But I'm you know, my perspective is I'm able to step back and take a snapshot, so to speak, of your relationship. And so I'm really focused. I'm in tune to how you're thinking and how you're connecting with your dog. So then my whole goal is, and understand my methodology, I'm not going to, you know, I'm going to stay away from anything that's not going to be helpful, that's not going to push your psychology over to where it needs to go. So, you know, trainers will come in and understand this, that if you're using treats and clickers and all these things, you know, that may not help you. If, you know, I may use them, or this is the whole thing about personality type. You know, people that are already, their psychology is aligned the right way, aren't going to need help. I mean, they're not going to pick that phone up and call and seek help out, because their mind is already in that place. So when they bring the dog home in the environment, dogs share that connection, so they're in tune to that. So they'll already release POW. I mean, the role change is already happening. It's not going to be obvious to anyone. You're not going to see these reactive, how the dog's mind's reacting to that alignment happening, because it's already aligned, and because the dog's saying he or she's already meets the criteria. So I'm going to release POW. And so you have to move beyond this whole thing with leashes and lines and devices and treats and clickers, and step back a little bit and just start looking at how you think, because that's strength or weakness in nature. So, and most trainers, most dog owners, they don't understand, are able to piece together just the depth of this connection and what it represents. I'm able to. I have written a lot of books on this. What I've learned from the relationship has come from understanding the depth of this, but it's really the ability to step back and put the pieces together. So it is all about psychology here. It's all about how you're thinking, and so it's meant to really, this whole system is meant to change how you think over time. So I want to really encourage you as you adopt my methods, as you start to tune into this connection issue, tune into how you're thinking. You have to be patient, because a part of this too is it's a journey. It can be a longer journey for some than others, because it is about changing how you think. You have to have the ability to analyze, frame up where you're at right now, and that can be very challenging, because you have to have the ability to be objective and step back and say, okay, what's Dale talking about here? Where am I at? Where do I need to go? And then how much power your dog truly has hold in the relationship. That's the other tricky thing, because trust me on this, you're not going to get a good day. I mean, if you're thinking a certain way, but look at the behavior issues. I mean, take your dog out for a walk and start to direct the mind and see the resistance levels. I mean, even, because what happens is you're already approaching everything from weakness. You're approaching everything from a emotional type of thinking. So therefore, you're going to frame everything up that way. So even, dogs that have, say, are reacting at a high level, and the mind is going backwards. And that's the other thing. These they call fear reactive. Well, it's power reactive. I mean, just the mind's going the opposite direction. It's going to be fear-like in the response. But the problem with that, I'm going to help in this series 2 of videos, you understand that better, because that is really highly challenging to somebody that is already thinking a certain way, and they're going to look at certain reactions, and they're going to frame those up with how they're going to filter them through their emotional thinking at that high level, and they are not going to break out. They're not going to be successful, because they're really fighting against that whole, because it is reverse psychology here, and so it's really going to challenge them, and this is where the failure really starts happening, because I fix those issues all the time. But the whole issue here is when people start to frame this up, and I say, hey, you need reverse psychology. Certainty creates certainty. You have to go against that, and because that's that whole how the dog's mind reacts and goes, because they're interconnected through these roles. So this power issue, it's hard for people to get a handle on it, because we're human, so we frame that up according to our human thinking. So if if we see a reaction from a dog, it's going to trigger empathy. We're going to say, wow, that's fear. I feel bad for my dog, and then you're in a trap. You're going to start, going to, and this the other thing to understand about vets. It's all this whole path of how these behavioralists think. It's behavioral science they use as a backdrop. That's all weak psychology. I mean, there's traps there, and we'll discuss those too during this video series, because you have to get your thinking right, and you have to challenge these things. I challenged these things many years ago, because certain things will not make sense, and you will stay locked in, and you're going to fail if you don't get your thinking going the right way, because there are certain pillars here that are going to really challenge, and so you have to put a lot of faith in what I'm saying. You have to trust what I'm saying, because I come from a place of experience. I come from a place of many years ago challenging these things. You have to step back away from that conditioning roadmap. People I help put aside this whole thing about devices and go a little deeper here. You have to go basically a lot deeper to understand this, because and read my books. My book series, I approach it, they're all set up a certain way. You get my my Beyond the Leash book. It's the cut and dry methodology. Okay, you're going to see the physical application of method, but that's all psychology too. Those things interconnect. That's why I wrote my second book on it's the mind and body connection. That explains it. that goes in and break apart behavioral science and what that represents through the psychology, to weakness. So what people are holding on to in this whole popularity thing with this type of thinking. So, because what I do is I end up so that people have nothing to hold on to. I mean, there's no excuses. There's no, I mean, people come at me with these debates about this stuff. I break that stuff apart. Really do. I spent months and months and months breaking that stuff apart, showing you the other path, the psychology, aligning that. It's like two trains running side by side. And I show that people are focused on the wrong hand. It's like a delusion. It really is. And so if you're caught up in that game, it's a game that is going to end up causing people to fail at a certain level. And what these people are doing, and this is the problem, I'm showing it's the psychology. It's the thinking that's influencing success or failure here. So these people caught up in this type of game with this stuff, this type of indoctrination way of thinking, they're sold out to this. What they'll end up doing is they're just showing the showcasing success. It's like taking a brand new car and putting it out in the showroom, and this car is spinning around slowly and saying, look at this car, wow, that's great. But you're not seeing what's out in the back lot. You're not seeing the real agenda here. You're not seeing truth at that level. So you're going to have a fail rate because the people are not focused on the mind. They're focused on body. And so they're caught up in the agenda becomes what is fueling everything. They're not, really, it's not about really getting real. It's not really focused on what is influencing change. So there's going to be people failing. And if you're one of these people, then what matters really is you. I mean, if you want to get pushed to the side, you want to be left out, you want to be on the outside looking in, that's what's happening within the systems, because they're just skimming the surface. I mean, they're just skimming the surface. They're dancing. And so if you want to dance, you can dance. If you want to get real, this system of training is going to help you get real. This system of training is all about truth. I don't care how, and this is the other thing to understand. Truth sometimes is brutal, sometimes it's difficult, but if there's a honest struggle in this, and you're wanting truth, then you're going to succeed. I don't care where you're at right now, you're going to succeed. I've helped people that were in terrible messes, that came from right in the middle of the worst messes, and they were successful. So I believe truly that everybody's capable of it, but you have to gain the right perspective here. So when you're using leashes, lines, you use my methodology, understand it's the mind at play here. It's not body, mind are connected. Dogs are nature connected that way. So just encourage you through these video series as you're putting my methodology to work, is to have some faith, be encouraged. Look at this more as a journey. Try to gain some perspective about the amount of power your dog really is holding, not what you think they're holding. Because sometimes that's worlds apart here. So dogs will gain a certain level of power based on your psychology. They're holding on likely to a lot more than you realize. So it's going to take some time to erode that, to gain advantage. So it's a daily ritual exercise. You have to, so with I really recommend you take some notes. So diminushment's going to be there, it's going to happen, but you have to, you've got to take this on in a way that's going to be more of a journey. It's going to take time. It could take weeks. It could take months for people. But it's not about numbers of sessions with me. This is all about just insight and just focus and going straight ahead. So thanks very much. This is part one. Just encourage you to, again, this is going to be part of my online series. This is these videos are just going to be available to those that have have adopted this system of training through sessions or through my online help area. So these are going to be just for those people that are really needing help and focused on the system. So this series, I'm going to have many videos on here that are just private. They're just open to those that are seeking the system as a way to basically be successful. So anyway, thanks very much, and just look for part two, and I'm going to keep putting these up, and there'll be many videos on here that are going to help you succeed in your journey towards a healthy and balanced relationship with your dog. Thanks very much.